let's discuss Sony blaming critics for their blockbuster failures. The Sony, of course, responsible for Madam Web, Craven the Hunter, Venom 3, and they're blaming the critics. I think I think like the mainstream media, I don't think critics have much influence.
Yeah.
I'll say this, correction. Critics can have influence for a small movie that people won't know about to say, hey, everybody says this movie, The Substance, is worth checking out. So critics can make people aware of smaller films they might not have known about. But if Deadpool and Wolverine gets bad reviews, we see it in the disparity between critics and audience score, right? But I think for the most part, critics and audiences were united in their hatred of these terrible, terrible Sony superhero movies with featuring villains in the Spider-Man universe that never met Spider-Man in the movies, in these films. So if you would go through this story for us, or read the headline, it gives you context.
Sony Pictures CEO says Madam Web flopped because the press crucified it. Our Marvel movies are not terrible films. They were destroyed by critics.
By the way, this CEO is trying to save their job.
Mm-hmm.
All these movies failed. Every single, except for the Venom movies, which did okay. These movies were all across the board failures.
Yes. And if you've ever been to Sony Pictures, it's a beautiful lot.
They have a great lot, great parking, great gift shop, great reception area. The lot is very good.
The theater they have is ornate. It's beautiful. Pretty sure the executive suites, millions have been spent on it.
I'm sure someone would not like to lose their job and thus their gift shop discount this season. But if you would read this story, Alan.
Sony Pictures CEO Tony Vinciquerra recently told the LA Times that Craven the Hunter is probably the worst launch we had. In the nearly 8 years he's been at the studio, adding, I still don't understand because the film is not a bad film.
I wonder if he watched the film.
Yes, I wonder too.
Maybe not.
Yes. Again, my grandmother died, and that's the last time I saw her. Or no, and I haven't seen her since.
And I never saw her again.
Okay. Sorry,
it's all
drifting.
Good, man.
Craven opened in theaters December 13th to a paltry 11 million. The lowest debut yet for a Sony released Marvel movie. The movie's current domestic box office total stands at just 18 million, while its global haul is 43 million. These are more or less catastrophic results for a superhero movie and cap off a lackluster year for Sony comic book movies after Madam Web flopped with $100 million worldwide and Venom: The Last Dance because the franchise became the franchise's lowest gross. Let's just touch on Madam Web for a moment, Vinciquerra said. Madam Web underperformed in theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film. It did great on Netflix. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these movies out of Craven and Madam Web. The critics just destroyed them. They also did it with Venom, but the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. These are not terrible films. They were just destroyed by the press, the critics and the press for some reason. I'll just go down here. It's snake bitten. If we put another one out, it's going to get destroyed no matter how good or bad it is, he told the LA Times. Interesting. So the critics, they hated Madam Web, Venom, and Craven. Yet Venom was an audience hit, was a box office hit. So again, how much influence do you think credits have, Mr. Vinciquerra?
The thing is, critics are only useful when they say things that Hollywood likes.
Yeah.
And when they say things Hollywood doesn't like, then they're the enemy. And they're doing that to the audience too. They're making the audience the enemy, right? They love the audience when they give them money, love the movie, but not when they don't. So this is BS. And I'm really disappointed the trades have been gutless in calling out BS, allowing a company like Lucasfilm to gaslight everyone about racist and sexist fans. The trade press needs to step up. They need to grow a pair, because all they're doing is echoing things. What they've begun to do is echo things we've said for years. That are kind of baseline, in my opinion. So, for example, they're finally starting to call out Lucasfilm, like, you announce all these projects and then they don't happen. Yeah, you noticed? You think? So it's a lot of BS. I don't like that these stories come out and they're unquestioned, right? Because my default setting is question everything.
Yeah. I mean, if, like you said, if he thought Madam Web and Craven were good, then that says something about him as an executive of Sony Pictures. There are problems galore, especially in Craven. And if you can't see that, then you shouldn't be running a movie studio.
Right.
And again, I think he overestimates the power that critics have. And I'll point to one example, Barbie. I don't think, especially a certain gender of critics, didn't appreciate Barbie, didn't like Barbie, but still $1 billion movie. And it's not that we're irrelevant, but I think, to me, I've always seen critics as just, it's like you have an opinion about a movie, you just want to express it. I'm not saying everyone has to agree with me. Definitely not everyone agrees with me. You don't always agree with me. But that's what movies are about. It's this discussion. You watch a movie, you talk about it. That's what critics do the best. Oh, did you hear what this guy said? All right, and now we're having a conversation at the water cooler.
Yeah, and I appreciate Barbie that they made this movie for an audience, and that movie is for women and young girls who played with Barbies, which is a very large group. And they turned out for that movie, made it one of the biggest box office of last year, and it was hailed with critical acclaim and awards, deservedly so. They should make a Star Wars movie for men, because and Star Wars has its female fans. Barbie has its male fans. But I'll just say this. You make a movie targeting an audience, respect that audience, give them what they want. They will turn up. They'll see it twice, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I mean, I'll say this. All these Star Wars projects of late, I will watch them once only. Although Acolyte, episode 3 of the Acolyte, I watched twice because I couldn't even believe what I saw. But The Rise of Skywalker is a movie I saw once in a theater. I tried to watch it again when it came to when it was on a video, or I couldn't. It was so bad, I couldn't believe it. So I don't know. How about stop the blame? Do you see? Last comment. Where is the accountability? These companies have shareholders. They have the audience themselves, the industry. No, I have not seen any accountability at Sony for their Spider-Verse, at Lucasfilm, what they've done to Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Where is the accountability in the industry? How about that? Because only when you're accountable can you change that behavior and maybe save the movie business. Okay?
Yeah. And let's talk about your 3 movies, Madam Web, Craven, Venom. Guess what? You could have made these better movies. Yeah. There's no reason these movies, they may not have been great, but they certainly could have been good. By the way, I have boxes and boxes and boxes full of scripts that of comic book characters that you can go to. In fact, the scripts, they're already storyboarded for you. So that makes it that much easier. Why don't you grab one of those and make that movie?